SCRD also before.
Yeah. So good evening and really nice to meet you here.
So how are you guys doing there? I mean, what's the latest about SCRD?
Latest one, we just finished our workspace week and things, and yeah. So good evening and really nice to meet you here.
So how are you guys doing there? I mean, what's the latest about SCRD?
Latest one, we finished our workspace week and things, and yeah.
So it's for
good evening and really nice to meet you.
Hello. How are you guys doing there? I mean, what's the latest about SCRD?
Sorry for interrupting.
Latest one, we finished our workspace week and things, and yeah.
So it's 4 already, and I think we'll start with our event today. Very good evening to all of you. I am Pragya, Manager Operations at AIC BIMTECH. On behalf of Atal Incubation Centre BIMTECH and Chevening Alumni India, I would like to welcome and thank each one of you for joining in today for the 9th Saturday Roundtable on Entrepreneurs in Space. Entrepreneurship is more than just an engine of economic growth. It is also a factor that makes communities more vibrant, inclusive, and secure. This is an event where we try to bring together entrepreneurs, young students, experts, and other key players in the entrepreneurship ecosystem to promote and spread the importance of entrepreneurship. In this event, we are going to look at the world of space technology and the opportunities that it brings. Due to some unavoidable reasons, Dr. Abha Rishi, our CEO, will not be able to attend today's event. So I welcome you all to this session on entrepreneurs in space. This session is the 9th in the series of roundtables, which discuss the different dimensions of entrepreneurship. The last 8 editions of this roundtable were on women entrepreneurship, digital, global, legal, green, AI, edtech, and insurtech entrepreneurship. With that, I would like to introduce you to the hosting organizations that are bringing you these sessions. First, Atal Incubation Centre BIMTECH. It is a sector-agnostic business incubator formed as a collaboration between Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog, and Birla Institute of Management Technology, BIMTECH. With the vision of creating social and economic impact through entrepreneurship, AIC BIMTECH has supported 130 plus startups from different industries at different stages since its inception in January 2018. In a scant 3 years, AIC and its incubatees have created 615 jobs and won 25 awards and recognition. 15 of our incubatees have raised a total amount of nearly 10 crores from the ecosystem, and we endeavor to contribute much more. AIC BIMTECH provides 9.8 INR crore worth of free incubating benefits in the form of soft infrastructure, along with the co-living facility. With the support of 93 academic and corporate partners across the globe, AIC BIMTECH believes in creating a nurturing environment for the startups to walk towards self-sustainability. Today, I'm very pleased to invite Mr. Shreyas Jaisema, an advocate, arbitrator, and trained mediator based in India and also as Shivering Alumni. He is a founding partner of Arna Law, a boutique counsel-led international and domestic dispute resolution practice. He has been involved in advising on several aspects of technology law and has advised startups and established enterprises in the space of all stages. Now I would request Shreya sir to give a brief introduction about Chevening Alumni and inaugurate the event. Over to you, sir.
Good evening all, namaste, and welcome to this further episode of the roundtable, and this time Entrepreneurs in Space. It's my privilege to introduce, to be connected with this, not just as a Shivering alumni, but also as a lawyer helping entrepreneurs in the space tech field. But for now, Shivering is the focus. And the Shivering Alumni of India is delighted to support the series. The Shivering Program is one of the flagship international award programs of the United Kingdom aimed at developing global leadership, and is funded by the FCDO and other partner organizations. And it offers basically 2 types of awards. One is the Shivering Scholarships and Shivering Fellowships, the recipients of which are personally selected by British embassies and high commissions throughout the world. And the aim of the Alumni Association in India is to provide a forum for the members of the society to interact and to have find adequate avenues for drawing upon the knowledge and expertise of the alumni for furthering the cause of the Shivering Program, ultimately to attain collectively a position of distinction and influence in academic, social, and business worlds, with a special focus on sustainable development, research, environment, climate change, renewable energy, education, digital transformation, healthcare, innovation, promotion of art, science, and culture, literature to the general public at large. Numbering over 50,000 worldwide, Shivering alumni many of them are leaders and innovators who are breaking boundaries across a variety of professional fields. And the Shivering program offers a rather unique and exciting opportunity to brilliant minds across the country to come and also study and interact in the UK. So with that brief introduction to Shivering, I will now hand over to Dr. Satya Chakravarti, who will be the moderator of today's exciting session on space entrepreneurship. And I think space is the inflection point, which we are all very excited to hear about. So over to you, Dr. Satya.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind introduction. Sir, we come to the moderation. Before that, we'll have a 15-minute session by Ms. Lena. So I would take the opportunity to welcome our eminent speakers and panelists, Ms. Lena Bocill, Professor Satya Chakravarti, and our entrepreneurs in the space domain, Mr. Srinath, Nikita, and Mr. Suyash Singh. Thank you for taking out the time to join us here. It's a pleasure to be able to hear you all. Moving towards the next topic of our event agenda today, it is my pleasure to introduce our eminent speaker, Ms. Lena Bocill, to share her thoughts on current scenario and future prospects of space entrepreneurship. She is the founder of AstroEdu Pune, an academy that specializes in astronomy, astrophysics, cosmology, and space engineering. An engineer, space advocate, and a science enthusiast, and a hardcore science communicator. She is NASA Honeywell space educator and has received numerous awards, some of which includes the Young Women in Engineering Award, the coveted Savitribai Phule Award, and Kranti Veer Jyoti Shikshan Puraskar, the Bharat Shikshak Gaurav Puraskar 2021, Rotary's Vidya Ratna and Raila Awards, and also holds Rotary's Paul Harris Fellowship. Thank you for joining us today, ma'am, and over to you. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, namaste. Good evening to all. I can see all space enthusiasts. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a great topic, space engineering, space science, space technology, and now space entrepreneurship. All these topics are very close to my heart. As a child, I grew up watching stars and stargazing, and I thought I should go there. I mean, just doing observation is astronomy, but going there is everything to do with space. So that is how I got introduced to this subject or topic. And my core branch is electronics and telecommunication engineering. But then when I was teaching avionics, aerospace engineering in Aeronautical Institute, that was when I got selected at the NASA Honeywell space training program. For it's meant for the educators. NASA in collaboration with Honeywell, they organized this particular program. It's like a precursor to astronaut training, they say. But then, yeah, it was a dream of President Ronald Reagan that if one astronaut or 3 or 5 crew members go to space and come back, they inspire hundreds of youngsters. But then when the astronaut is an engineer or a teacher, especially if a astronaut goes to space and comes back, he or she will touch the hearts of many kids, and the future is bright then. So imagine, I mean, that was President Reagan. He had come from Hollywood and then he was the president. That was his vision. And I'm very fortunate I got this opportunity to attend this NASA Honeywell Space Educators Program, and I visited 6 times NASA's various centers in various capacities. So today I would like to talk about the entrepreneurship in space, and that is something that is related to the future. So one moment, I'll just share my, yeah, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so entrepreneurs in space, this is the present and future. So that is something that when I was asked to give a talk on this, I said, yes, definitely I can throw light on this, not just the Indian scenario, but abroad as well. And yes, who is not fascinated by space? I mean, everyone is, but especially those who dream and aspire to go to space, the astronauts, they are the ones that have been the past and present. And in the future, we are going to have not just astronauts, but there are going to be space tourists, right? So back then, I mean, this is very much in the past. This was Socrates in 500 BC. Said man must rise above and beyond Earth's atmosphere, and only thus will he know more about the universe in which he lives. And this was said so many centuries ago. But look at this. This is the NASA rockets in the rocket garden. The ones that went to space and came back, some fall into the ocean, some are brought back and they are in the rocket garden at Kennedy Space Center, various centers. And also now we have the reusable rockets. So I am interested in the reusable ones now because that is the need of the hour and that's going to be the future. So this is an astronaut, but not a real astronaut, but this is a satellite astronaut. So the space age, as we all know, it began in 1957. It is as recent as that. And Sputnik was sent by Russia, USSR by far being the pioneers in space age. And of course, the first space traveler, cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin, and their own Russian Valentina Tereshkova, and then Alexei, they made the rest of the history, like spacewalk, the first EVA, and things like that. And then came in NASA. They stepped into not just to do an orbital ride, but to take man to moon. So that was 60 years ago, almost 6 decades ago. So NASA put the first man on moon, Neil Armstrong, astronaut Neil Armstrong. The trio, in fact, the middle one, Michael, he did not land. Of course, Buzz Aldrin was the second man. We all remember the first one. And now we are also keen in the future to see the first Martian, the first man to put his footstep on Mars. We have seen in the fiction movies, but then we want to see the Martian, first Martian. So this was the small step, like he described, small step for man and a giant leap for mankind. So this is not just, this was not meant to be a technology demonstration or demonstration of power, superpower and all that, but it was to do the experiments, the science experiment, to study the moon surface, to study its mineralogy and many other factors. And then now after 6 decades, the first man and the next woman will go on moon. They'll travel to the Artemis mission, NASA's next mission that is very ambitious, and we all look forward to that. It's not just a gateway to moon, but it will have many more footsteps. And the south pole of moon will be explored, and of course it will be like the the first, like a gateway and the first leap, and then to Mars and beyond. So I had the honor to meet the most inspirational man. Of course, Neil Armstrong, I could not take picture with him, but Buzz Aldrin, the second man on moon. So he also spoke about Mars, the next, the next destination for astronauts or for the space agencies, and then also for the space tourism. So, thus far, what has happened is all the spacefaring nations, especially America, their agency, premier space agency, NASA, and of course the pioneering Russian space agency, Roscosmos, and India's very own ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, then Japan's JAXA, European Space Agency, of course, ESA, Chinese Space Agency. All these are government organizations, right? So they have sent missions. They operate by the old school, and that is I salute them, and that is something I appreciate. They are the people who are associated with those same old suppliers, customers, and the entire market. All that is fixed. If you take example of NASA, it's like we know Boeing, Lockheed Martin, so on and so forth. But then almost 20 years ago, 2 decades ago, the main private space sector, the mainstream in the US was born, or it came with this, the aerospace and the space agencies, the private companies, of course, Blue Origin, owned by none other than Amazon's, Jeff Bezos, then Virgin Galactic, Richard Branson's company, like Virgin Atlantic was already there, a top-notch air passenger carrier, the players, and now they are into space missions. And of course, who doesn't know about SpaceX, the major private space agency or company now, organization in the US, and sorry, of course, so SpaceX is owned by Elon Musk. And of course, there are these companies, and apart from that, there are many others in the US, and they are planning to take space tourists into space. That is, what is space tourism? It is nothing but the human endeavor or travel that will be not just for science. So they need not be only the scientists, engineers. Thus far, the astronauts who went, they have been pilots. They have been specialized in some or the other, their own core branch. And then they took up these missions to go to some or the other destination, be it low Earth orbit, as in a space station, or to moon, or such missions. But then the next generation space travelers will be the private passengers. That is, he or she could be just a person who is interested in doing space travel, someone who likes to explore. So it could be now like the space tourism, as in including orbital, suborbital, and lunar space tourism, like 5 days, 4 nights on moon, etc. Or just the suborbital or orbital rides. And these companies that I mentioned, Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic, they recently took 3 or 4 astronauts to the stratosphere, or almost to the Kármán line. That is technically from where space begins. But they have been there just for hardly 15 minutes, or a little more or less, plus minus. So what is the fun in spending billions of dollars and take just that, right? But it is the beginning of new era, new space age that has begun, mind you. So these organizations in the West, and of course there are in Europe as well. I'm talking about America at the moment, and then I'll come to the Indian scenario. So these will be the space tourists of the future. They may go to just to look at the horizon and get a great view, of Earth from space, so on and so forth. They could go to moon, Mars, or beyond, and you must have seen in science fiction. But I believe yesterday's fiction is today's reality. Today's science is tomorrow's technology. So the young engineers and scientists, the ones that are the entrepreneurs especially, not just the scientists and engineers, but the entrepreneurs and the ones that have come up with startups, maybe 2 decades ago in America, and almost a decade ago, and 3 to 5 years ago, or recently also, some space companies have come up, private space companies in India itself. So they plan to do, mostly it could be like applications, space applications. It could be sending satellites or, aiding these government organizations like NASA, ISRO, European Space Agency, so on and so forth, or they could be promoting space tourism. But then for that, they must be billionaires, and they must have their own very, very steady financial status. So this is Teslaka, the cherry red, famous brand, and that's not an astronaut; it's just a robot kept. They had sent this car just as a demonstration SpaceX mission, and this is Virgin Atlantic's recent July, August have been very important, and September. These 3 months, especially in space tourism, or it's just the advent of new space age or beginning of a new era that will mark, the further what will come in this. So that's, you all know, Richard Branson, Shirisha, and the two other co-passengers, they did this recently, suborbital ride. And then, of course, Jeff Bezos with his team, they went to the stratosphere. Technically, they may not be given the status as astronauts, mind you, but they are going to be the future space tourists. And tourism, when it comes to tourism, it could be exploration, just studying, and they might take these, space agencies might take the real astronauts and do further, space research, and their own passengers could just go there and come back. So maybe if you have, like, in your pocket some millions and billions of dollars, you can make such rides in the future. And this is none other than the hero, Captain James Kirk, that is William Shatner. We grew up watching Star Trek. The Enterprise, it says these are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise, and they wanted to take us, or our imagination, to not just to the edge of our solar system, but beyond, to interstellar, intergalactic space, and where no man had ever gone before, or even maybe our minds have not traveled. So this is something I call a perfect fiction. So now he is 90, William Shatner, and he did this recent voyage into space, and that's a record. The oldest man or astronaut to go to space. Maybe they are still not given the, the badge or the medal of the grade or caliber of an astronaut, but they are they are space travelers. They went into till the Kármán line and came back successfully. That itself is a big deal. That's a big achievement. So Virgin Galactic space plane, they are charging you like a ticket, and maybe a time will come, if everything goes as per the plan, there will be tourists rocketing into space aboard Virgin Galactic space ship, and $200,000. Look at that, for few minutes of weightlessness. Why do we like to go there? The feeling of micro and zero gravity, ZG, the weightlessness, that is an exhilarating feeling, and it's not just adventure or the spirit of space exploration, but also to go and see what lies there. And as scientists and engineers, I say that when we do an experiment, suppose my aim or objective is X and I may get Y as a result, or even say Columbus, he was planning to explore to the Indian subcontinent, and they landed in the Western Hemisphere, and America was discovered, the new, America. Already that was inhabited by the Red Indians and the natives, but then that was the beginning of a new age. So that was on Earth, on land, and sea and land on Earth. And this is something, space tourism, that will take us to the future. In the future, it will take us to places or spaces that were not even imagined. So sitting in the next seat could be like, if I'm a passenger or a space tourist, the person next to me could be a scientist working on some research experiment, so on and so forth. So, of course, who doesn't know this now? This is SpaceX, Falcon, and Their crew module has taken many astronauts to the space station and so on and so forth. At one point of time, he was ridiculed because of his dreams. And today, we can see that coming to, taking shape and coming to realization maybe in the future. But he says that man should not be, humanity should not be just confined to Mother Earth, that this is a home planet, all right, but we need to make humanity or humankind multi-planetary civilizations. And he says, jokingly was saying, I don't want to die on Earth. I mean, if there's going to be global warming and massive floods and all that, if a catastrophe comes here on a planet, we should be prepared, equipped. If we have already occupied and colonized Moon or Mars or beyond, we could move the civilization from here to, I mean, A to B, or Earth to Mars to Moon. But then for that, we need to make these celestial bodies habitable first. So that is entirely another topic. But this is the future. So we get the vision of Earth from space, the feeling of weightlessness, the experience, and high speed experience, unusual experience, especially, and we can carry out our scientific contribution by way of experiments. So that is the purpose of space tourism. And why I took up this is because most of the American and the Western countries and even European countries, China as well is coming in a big way. They are the ones that are investing on space tourism. And this is Russia's MiG. So MiG plug, modified Boeing that takes passengers to the stratosphere and brings you back in a parabolic ride. So it is just to give you the feel of the weightlessness feeling and so on and so forth. So if you have, say, this much in your pocket, say in euros or pounds, I mean, I'm talking about, say, dollars or pounds. So you, as a passenger, could go on a 20-25-minute flight featuring a number of aerobatic maneuvers without supersonic flight. You could have options like these. So, 12,500 euros, so on and so forth, or 4,500 for various, like how we have economy class and premium, and then, special business class, so on and so forth. So such, options you will have. So edge of the space flight includes all these maneuvers and experiences, and you could pay for it and go there. So this is how Earth would look like if you go and go to a space destination like suppose Moon, and you get the view of Earth. From here we see moon rise, so from Moon you could see Earth rise, so on and so forth. So that's part only the astronauts have got the privilege to go there, but in the future, the passengers, the space tourists will do that. So I'll come to the Indian scenario now. And it all began in India with the Indo-Russian space mission, Salute. And I have known Rakesh Sharmaji, cosmonaut Rakesh Sharmaji, for many years. He is an inspirational person. These astronauts, cosmonauts, they are very, very inspirational, real heroes. And I'm sure the young generation look up to them. We all do. We look up to such real life heroes instead of the ones that are in the glamorous field, so on and so forth. So now coming to the Indian scenario, Indian Space Research Organization, they are inviting now, this time has come now when they have their own missions planned, chalked out for the future. But then they are requesting private ventures to actively participate in space missions and utilize the space resources in our country. And ISRO's future missions, I'm sure you all know, Gaganyaan 1, 2, unmanned and manned missions, our very own indigenous space station, and then Chandrayaan 3 is in the pipeline, and Mangalyaan 2, then Aditya mission to Sun, Shukra to Venus, so on and so forth. We have huge plans. India has very futuristic, and this is a great time. I always tell the youngsters when I'm addressing them, it's Achhe Din Aaye Hai. So very nice it's a nice time, interesting time for the present and the future generation of space engineers and scientists and the space explorers. So India has done a great job in the recent times with many successful missions and a few tiny, hiccups. But then we are in the top race, in the top spacefaring nations. We are in the, not maybe in the elite, but we are in the top 5. So that makes India a major space player, and therefore now they are inviting the youngsters, the future generation of space engineers. So in India, I'll just sum up quickly and I'll tell you, these very young engineers have come up with startups like Nopo Technologies, making humankind or humanity a spacefaring species. That has been their dream and objective. And the carbon nanotube, that is their specialty. They are, I'll tell you, most of these space startups in India, they are in Bangalore, they are in Chennai or Hyderabad. Most of them, trust me, they are in Bangalore, Karnataka. I'm very, very proud of these youngsters. I know a few of them and I plan to meet them. They are doing a great job and providing services and as suppliers, components, some or the other technology to ISRO or even abroad. So founded in 2011, almost 10 years ago, a decade ago, one of the oldest space startups in India. And the founders are the Reddy's, and they are doing a great job. So I salute them. And they have had the vision, because they started when people thought in the Western countries also, they believe if you have $1 billion, they may come to $1 million. You have from billion, you come down to million when you are doing something, investing in space technology. And in India, when we are talking about crores, it may come down to a loss. But no, in the present scenario, and things are working very well in the space sector. Therefore, if anyone is planning to invest in lakhs and crores in India, then I'm sure they're going to be there's going to be a quantum leap in terms of financial status. And I'm talking about startups, and we are talking about entrepreneurship or entrepreneurs. Therefore, we should know about the finances. So yeah, coming to Dhruv Space, they work with very tiny satellites meant for commercial and academic markets, for ISRO and for European Space Agency. And in 2012, they started, and Sanjay and company in Hyderabad, they started this, and they signed a deal with AMSAT in 2014, and they have a great future, mind you. And the capital investments, you can see they're all in dollars, it is shown, but they are in millions. So then came Bellatrix Aerospace, again in Bangalore, and Rohan Ganpati and others started this in 2015. And they are working in advanced rocket propulsion and in-space rocket propulsion systems. And they are a major startup now, announced. They have announced partnership MOU with Skyroot Aerospace, the Bellatrix Aerospace company. They are doing extremely well. And then comes Agnikul, again, a company that was started in 2016. But then in the recent times, they have come up with the first 3D rocket engine, Agni. This is related to Agni Ban, Agni. So they are working extremely well in this specialized and super specialized area, and not just ISRO, but semi-cryogenic rockets, and for DOS and for DRDO, NDA, etc. They are working on these lines based in Chennai. So they are going to come up with the next Agniban. So Astrogate is one more space agency, the new startup, and especially in 2017, with the vision of doing high-speed communication and to tackle the impedance issues. And mind you, there are satellites, and not just satellites, constellation of satellites. Each and every spacefaring country, or even the smaller one, we have all put up satellites around our planet. So for that, to tackle the problem of impedance is a very big task and a major issue, and that is what Astrogate they are doing. And it's a top-notch company, very low mass and low power. Especially they are working in this high speed communication, and the conventional things that we faced in radio frequency systems, that is tackled now. So they are very, very state of the art and modern sophisticated technology. So all this innovation makes all these startups a great place, because they are coming up with the new ideas that even the conventional engineers and scientists may not think. So thinking out of the box and imagination, creativity is are a few major attributes that I really appreciate, and I would like to highlight at this point of time, because these young scientists and engineers are coming up with great ideas. Antariksh in Bangalore, again, an innovative startup. It's not just meant for space exploration technology, but education company to educate, empower, and pass on the knowledge. That's very important, and technology transfer is equally important. So this organization, 2017, it came up with very good ideas and sustainable growth of Indian economy. They are planning to do that here. And then comes Kava. That is the only one based in Mumbai that I know. But yes, there are, mind you, I have taken just a few examples, but there are a few in Bangalore, many more in Bangalore, many more in Mumbai, Pune, and Bachanagar Industries. They are age-old. They are all providing the homegrown technology to ISRO and in Chandrayaan, in Gaganyaan, and the other missions to come. This is because Honorable Prime Minister of India, Modi ji, he emphasizes on Make in India. So Make in India movement, it all began, and it has now brought in such technologies. And therefore, most of our young scientists and engineers, they stay here in India and doing it. So the brain drain that was earlier happening 2 decades ago, now that has come to a standstill, in the sense, or it could be reversed, or there are still people going abroad. I'm not saying they're not going, but they are coming back and they're serving the motherland. Just like what I'm doing, I got trained at NASA, but I work and serve my motherland, my Swadesh. So it may be my contribution is very tiny, maybe just a very tiny share, but just to inspire, motivate the youngsters and to bring them into a field like space engineering. It's very important, because when I address a class of or 100, 200, 500, 1,000, even in physical presence, in auditorium, 1, 2, or 5 get-ins. So I'm very proud of all these people who have contributed to the Indian space technology. Okay, so that was Kava, and it's located in Mumbai, Krishna Nair, and world-class satellite data. They are encoding, decoding, and they provide platform for the software and hardware tools for communication with the satellites and the constellation. And Pixel is one of the one more Bangalore-based startup, and it came up in 2018, and they are the only startup that for the 2019 TechStar Starburst Starburst Space Accelerator in LA. They participated and they qualified in that. So they
sorry to interrupt, ma'am. Actually, we have just we need to start our
yeah. So I'll sum up that all these space agencies that we saw in India and abroad, they are not startups anymore. They are major companies, and the ones that are I threw light on, they are Indian scenario. The future is bright for all of us, for these youngsters. Rachel, one of my students, and Nina, they did this autogyro, and I'm sure they'll come up with a startup. She was a participant in ISU's International Space University's recent online program, SSP, and he is in the Florida University pursuing MS. So I'm sure such startups, I'm encouraging, and I'm sure many more will come. And I'm sure the future is bright for space entrepreneurs. And we all look up to them because they have sacrificed many things and they are working here. They did not take up lucrative jobs abroad, and they're doing that in Indian scenario. So hats off to them. They're thinking out of the box and bringing in new technology. And that is the need of the hour. And that is going to be the future for ISRO, for India, and our very own scientists and space engineers. I'm sure for them, future is bright. Thank you for giving me this platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lena ma'am, for giving your valuable insights. I'm absolutely certain that our attendees must have received unparalleled insights. Moving on to today's much awaited roundtable discussion. Now I would like to welcome and acknowledge our moderator of the panel discussion of the Saturday roundtable, Professor Satya Chakravarti. Dr. Satya is a professor of aerospace engineering at IIT Madras. He did his BTech in aerospace engineering from IIT Madras and obtained his master's in aerospace engineering and Doctor of Philosophy, both from Georgia Institute of Technology, USA. He heads the National Center for Combustion Research and Development and Center of Propulsion Technology at IIT Madras. Professor Satya is the lead co-founder and technical lead of the E-Plane Company, director of Agnikul Cosmos, and shareholding advisor to Galaxy. He has been awarded various awards, and I'm just naming a few of them, which is Young Engineer Award by the Indian National Academy of Engineering, the Dalmi Hemsey Arkam Award by the High Energy Material Society, the DRDO Academic Excellence Award by the Defense Research and Development Organizations twice in 2009 and 16, and many more. Now, I would request Satya sir to please moderate the roundtable session. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pragya. Thank you very much for that kind introduction, as well as the opportunity that we have to interact with Nikita, Srinath, and Suyash. It's a good panel discussion that we will have. Unfortunately, I think we are running short of time, so let me try to keep this short and sweet. My duty is to introduce the panelists for this afternoon. So let me start with Nikita. Nikita is an Indian-based space enthusiast, Dr. Kalpana Chawla scholar from International Space University, motivational speaker, and a social impact entrepreneur. She's a so-called Mughal for her dedication and passion for space and STEM education. She's the co-founder of Society for Space Education Research and Development, SECRD, with a mission to open a space frontier to all by promoting space education among the community and prepare the young generation for the space revolution. Also, she was the KWAA Youth Icon of 2019 for her outstanding work at inspiring students in STEM and space. And in fact, now it's called STEAM and space. Moving on to Srinath, co-founder and CEO of Agnikul Cosmos. Srinath actually was a Wall Street trader, turned aerospace engineer with over 10 years of experience in engineering, finance, and project management. He's a co-founder and CEO of Agnikul Cosmos. He has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the College of Engineering, Guindy, and master's degrees in financial engineering from Columbia University and aerospace engineering from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Srinath believes in using his multidisciplinary experience to solve large-scale problems that humanity faces today. He started Agnikul with the simple idea that going to space shouldn't be the hardest part of living in and working from space. Suyash Singh, the co-founder of CEO and of Galaxy Space, which is a space technology company building a constellation of edge computing-based Earth imaging satellites. Suyash has a degree in aerospace engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. Suyash was previously the founder of Team Avishkar Hyperloop, the team that built India's first ever self-propelled Hyperloop pod prototype. At Team Avishkar Hyperloop, Suyash spearheaded the team to become the only Asian finalist and one among the top 21 out of 2,500 global applicants at the SpaceX competition in 2019. Suyash holds 6+ years of industry experience in deep learning and big data analytics as well. So this is a very interesting panel. We have on the one hand, a Nikita who is interested in using applications of space technology for education and access to space. Srinath, on the other hand, wanting to launch satellites, and Suyash wanting to make the satellites. So all three of them are actually going to make India proud and change humanity is what we expect. Okay, so I think we will go in the same order in which I got them to go. I think we will broadly discuss 3 questions, but each of you, if you can actually just take about 2 minutes each for each question, that'll be good, so that we'll have a very good, what should I say, a combination of things that we can hear from each of you. So one, the first question I would like to ask is, what got you into this and what's your journey been, right? So Nikita, can you please share with us what's been your experience, what's your motivation, what's your personal journey, and so on. 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, and for the whole who have given me this opportunity. So, hi, this is Nikita, and I've been a space enthusiast. So I just wanted to fly. I wanted to become a pilot. That's where I could say my journey started. And I was doing my aerospace engineering here in Bangalore. That's when I got the opportunity to meet many space enthusiasts like me, right? And I got to know that they were not aware of what they were going to study. And this is the most common thing that we hear from anyone. They were not sure what they were going to study. They were not sure of what they're going to get into in the future. And they were just there.
I can agree with you seeing people on the other side of the table.
They were just there. And that's when, I thought we should start talking about it. That's when we formed a group of people, space enthusiasts. We just started talking, what is space? What are the different domains that are there? If you want to become a pilot, then this is the path. If you want to become an aeronautical engineer, this is the path. And we were just talking and discussions. And that's how it started off. And we were talking about all these 2 undergrad students. And then we realized there is nothing much we could do because they've already chosen what they can do. And probably they could decide in their masters. But we wanted to create that impact in I can say at the right time. And that's when we started focusing on providing this space educational program for school students as well. So I can say SSCRD was started when we all were like students, and now it has grown to a level that it is educating students and the whole community in international level, where it's a platform where you can just come and know what space is and learn and achieve those goals that you had set before, and that's what we are into. And we enjoy what we're doing here, telling about space. I think that's one of the best thing which space enthusiasts can do, right? So yeah, that's about me and our organization in short.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Srinath, would you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Srinath, one of the co-founders of Nicole. So I actually grew up in a family of people who were all into physics in one way or the other. So I think that's where my childhood passion for aerospace started. My mom was a physics teacher. My aunt is a physics teacher. My granddad also did BSc honors in physics.
You must have been very good teacher.
So, and I think dining table conversations evolved around physics unknowingly. Now I'm able to actually see that from a distance and notice it. But at that time, of course, I think it automatically came. But then when it was time to choose a bachelor's, it actually was more about how will I get a job if I take aerospace. So I ended up doing electrical engineering and working in ABB, which is a heavy electrical engineering solution provider, right? But somehow at that time, my friend circle, everyone was doing something or other in finance. And I was a complete novice there. I think even now I'm not a great expert or something, but at that time, literally I knew nothing about finance. So I was intrigued, and then I found this course called Financial Engineering, a blend of finance and engineering, as the name says. It's about applying physics to predict the stock market. At least that's what the course said, and it sounded very fascinating to me. I think there's actually a movie made about a guy who does that. Who like, I think Pi is the name of the movie. In case some of you guys are interested, you can watch it. Anyway, so I did that course and I went to New York, got an admit in Columbia. But very soon after I started working, I realized, this engineering craving was still there. I felt like I was not really working with and tinkering with hardware and all that. So this is when also the SpaceX story was picking up quite a bit in the US. So obviously was drawn to that because I was always an enthusiast. I've been watching ISRO launches on Doordarshan and all that here, but then they were doing it on YouTube with a different level of finish to that marketing there, right? So decided I should just quit this, enter into aerospace all in. So yeah, it didn't have anyone like Nikita advising me at that time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it took me around like 7-8 years to figure out, actually, I should just do aerospace engineering anyway. That's what I wanted to do. Got an admit at University of Illinois, and then moved to Los Angeles because that's where the industry is. And then usually at this point in the story, Professor Satya is not in the conversation. But what happened is that time I was actually cold calling a lot of people in India, professors who would be interested in supporting this sort of a story. And I cold called many people, and only one person actually gave a reasonable level of excitement and interest in actually returning my mails and actually having a call with me, and that is Professor Chakravarti, who's actually moderating the session. So once he was interested, I basically quit my job there and came back. And between my other co-founders,
disclosure, I didn't set up this panel, right?
Yeah, and I was already struggling to say, okay, how can I make this like a very formal discussion, because usually we have very informal conversations because you're part of the same team. But I hope I maintain that level of formality. Anyway, that is a story. Yeah.
Excellent.
That's the story. Okay.
Excellent. So Suyash, your 2 minutes, please.
Thanks, Prof. First of all, thank you for having me in the session, along with Professor Satya, Srinath, and Nikita, of course. So, so my story actually begins, from a point where most of the Indian youths who starts their career in IT or some regular tech companies in India, and I started there. I basically worked for 2-3 years, and I was one of those guys who really wanted to do deep learning and machine learning and computer vision, all of those stuffs. So I was pretty fascinated about those stuffs as well. One of the guys who wanted to really join Google or Facebook at some point of time. But then I joined IIT Madras Aerospace Engineering. Given my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, I got aerospace engineering somehow. So it was just something that I wasn't driving. Fate was driving for me. So I reached there, and suddenly this thought came to my mind that, can we do something good? Can I do something good? Because I'm at IIT Madras, and it is one of the most premier institutes of the country. So I got stuck with an idea that, I can start Hyperloop. And there was a parallel competition going on at SpaceX by Elon Musk, which was happening in 2018 and 19. So I started to work on that competition along with, I also convinced Professor Satya to guide us in that competition as well, to build a Hyperloop board from scratch. So as a student team, we started that. I gained a lot of deep learning experience, and understanding how systems come together in an interdisciplinary fashion, be it electronics or mechanical systems, and then how things work in vacuum. So from that experience, we basically achieved few laurels for the country as well, becoming the only Asian team to go to SpaceX, and was for the institute as well. And then when we reached to the US, so that was the part of the story from where Hyperloop came in, and I really got good experience and working on that, and few of my teammates as well. And after reaching SpaceX, we saw LA, as Srinath also went to Los Angeles and saw a lot of stuff happening there. I found that probably space tech is much more fascinating than Hyperloop. Yeah, of course, Hyperloop will go on, and I passed on the baton, and I jumped on the bus of the space technology. However, there are people who have started much earlier than me, but probably I came at the right time when when InSpace has just started. Indian government has just started to feel more good about space tech. And my basically the purpose that my entrepreneurial journey is to integrate deep tech with the machine learning and AI somehow. And that's where I fit into, building satellites, which is coming from the deep tech, but providing data products at the end of the day for deep learning and machine learning applications.
Amazing. So amazing to see the kind of motivations and the paths that these three, relatively young entrepreneurs are taking on their journey to space. The interesting thing is, one of the things that I have not done is to actually find out what was Srinath's motivation and the journey or the path to this, or for that matter, Suyash's. I had no idea about Srinath being a Wall Street trader or Suyash actually being a deep learning, whatever, right? So or IT thing. And maybe if I had known, maybe I wouldn't have been working with them. So it's very important to actually not know certain things, right? So that you don't get biased about anything. Excellent. So yeah, I think the question that is often asked, and I think it still should be asked all the time, because everybody needs to learn from this. I have actually been having a very, very close inside view of how these things are emerging, as Ms. Lena Bocill was describing. What are the challenges? But we need to learn from the horse's mouth. So what are the challenges that key challenges have you faced so far in getting to where you are, Nikita?
For us, like I can say, like, since we started it off as a not-for-profit organization, because all we wanted to do was share that passion towards space education among everyone. We decided, okay, let's do that in our free time, on our weekdays, weekends, like free time. Now that's how it started off. And then when I graduated after a year, I felt that I must give my full time, because I was loving what I was doing. And at that point of time, I can say both me and Sujay, we both come from non-entrepreneurial background. In fact, I could say we both come from a background where we took science we were the first one to take even science, I can say. So one, like, there are few problems I could mention. One is that being the reason that we started an NGO, funds was something that was really, really, really hard to run an organization, to keep ourselves sustainable, and in fact to keep running till now as an NGO, right? So that's something which I can say we had to figure it out. And then for sure, second thing is being the reason we are first generation entrepreneurs, and that too social entrepreneurs. We felt like if there was some kind of guidance that we had, just like how Srinath have you, if we would have had someone at that point of time to run an NGO like that, I'm pretty sure we would have grown to some other level, is what I feel sometimes. Apart from that, there was a time when our parents did not support, because we both were so talented. We got so many opportunities. We were literally leaving all those opportunities and concentrating on this. Then there was hatings and things, but then it took some time for them to, I think it's part of all the entrepreneurs' life, that it takes parents a lot of time to believe in what their children are doing, and the same thing happened with us. I think these are few things which have faced as the major challenges, but then we've been able to overcome them, and we are again enjoying the journey, I can say.
Excellent. So in fact, a couple of thoughts that came to my mind was, looks like all these space people are kind of wired in a particular way. And you talked about my guidance to Srinath. So when Srinath came along, he wanted to do a non-profit. And my guidance was, people understand profit, so just do it that way.
That's exactly what I meant. Now that I think like 2 years back, we were just talking and we found mentor, and the mentor said the same thing. So just like what you said. And yeah.
Yeah. And the other question I was going to ask you, don't your parents scold you? And you answered that too. So Srinath, what were your challenges?
So I think first one would be, in the initial phase, policy was not here. Convincing my wife. I'll come to that in a second. I think first thing, running the startup was about policy. Somehow, professor never asked that question, but everyone else asked, "Can you launch out of India?" So only very recently, literally a year ago, did that get actually settled for good, right? So that was a persistent problem until then. Then the other part was obviously raising money, fundraising for a deep tech startup, particularly me not being a direct rocket scientist or anything like that, definitely was a challenge as well. But that's where, having people like Prof and through him, other retired ISRO scientists helped the story. And then third thing, which actually, again, Prof solved indirectly, actually directly, was access to infrastructure, right? But I think generally that was a concern to start with, but not the moment we got IIT Madras and NCCRD access, the NCCRD is a center that he heads, right? Those things were automatically taken care of. But yeah, I think we'll probably leave it to two then.
Sure.
Policy related questions and funding.
So, Suyash,
I think I'm still on the boat of the challenges. I haven't overcome a lot of them yet. So maybe in general,
anything different?
Yeah, in general, the philosophy that I'm or the pattern that I'm recognizing through my deep learning mindset is it's the inertia, be it the fundraising or the team or how people get into your shoes. So, for example, finding talent. They're wired to few things that they will go to some company which is already existing in India. There's some lucrative packages where they can follow on. Now it has started to change. People are also looking for ESOPs and all. So there's some kind of momentum or the inertia which is already there. To change that, it's something very difficult in case of fundraising or team building or any other thing for that matter. In fact, in Hyperloop also, we have faced very similar situations. Convincing people that, okay, fine, this is probably on paper, but it will work if we do these things. So I think inertia is something which is one of the biggest challenges.
Got it. I think that's a good way of putting a lot of things together, actually, in some sense, right? So now, okay, it's already past 5 p.m. So let's actually keep it short from here. The point essentially is we have like these three brilliant people who are now, sort of like just like space faring, we should say entrepreneurship faring in space, right? And so the question is, what would your takeaways be to people? And this is an emerging space, like as Ms. Lena was talking about, right? And then every other year you are actually having more and more startups coming in, and there is so much to do. And with all this deep learning and so on, you just have like lots of startups on the downstream side which can monetize this and so on. And so Nikita obviously is actually trying to tell all the people coming out of aerospace what to do, right? So what are your takeaways? So one of the things Nikita could be thinking about is how to use Srinath and Suyash to figure out like what you can do for space education, right? So what are your ideas on what you're going to do, and what's your takeaway for people watching this?
Yeah. So this is something that I would say for everyone, particularly since this panel discussion or the whole program is entrepreneurship in space. What I explored is a lot of students with so much of dreams, just like me, just like all of us. While we're students, we think of doing something big.
Me too. I've been a student as well.
Yeah, but then nowadays I've started seeing that they are dreaming of this just to have that tagline with their name, which I see that is not something which one must think of right now. Always think of the whole concept of entrepreneurship is to solve a problem. So look at what problems you can solve, because there are like new set of problems we are facing. Like we are seeing the rain now, which is not at all the rainy season. So there are like so many problems out there. So think of what solutions you can come up with, and that's something that I would say. And also always. This is something that my mentors have said, which I'd like to tell you all, and every time I say this to everyone, that get some experience only, then get into anything, is what my mentors have been telling. And that's something that I would tell everyone here. Like, if you want to do something, get some experience, like very little experience, to understand what it would be, and then you take it up. Because I feel that I did that mistake, which I don't want any one of you to do. So this is something that I would say. Just keep
So nice.
going with
Yeah.
take the steps.
That's so nice. I think deriving life's lessons from your own, your own life and journey and passing it on to others is amazing. Thanks very much. So Srinath, you have actually literally gone around the world to a space startup. So what's your takeaway to people?
Yeah, I think 3 quick takeaways. One, I think there is no really good or bad time to have a startup, space or not. I mean, if you really want to do something, just go for it. There's going to be an uncertainty factor anyway. So
No
that will happen when it has to.
No sponsorship from Nike, but just do it. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Just do it and do it now. Second thing I think is at least for me, the entrepreneurship part about doing something in space, I actually read a lot about what Elon Musk was doing, and my idea of what that would look like is very different from what is reality, right? It's much there is a shiny part to it, but there is a lot of non-shiny part to it. So just be ready for that phase as well. It is cool to say you're building a rocket and all, but yeah, it's really cool to say. So, and I think actually Professor keeps advising me that, there are a lot of day-to-day problems to solve, but still keep your eye on the big picture. But it's hard. So that part is something the glamour part doesn't stay for too long. Right. That's one. The second point I wanted to it's a note of caution.
When you're on a rocket, it's pretty hard behind you, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the second one. Third thing, on a more positive note, I think this is absolutely the best time to do a space startup in India. I mean, talking to an Indian audience here, right? So I think this is if you had to time it, this is the time. So I'll link it back to the first one. Anyway, again, reinforce the same point. Do it now. This is amazing. Lot of retired people, a lot of talent, common support, everything is there.
Awesome. I mean, the third point is actually reinforcing it in a very, very positive way, particularly in India. But this time, yes, correct. Suyash.
Yeah, so I think probably there are 2-3 things that I've learned in last 4 years on the deep tech side. Particularly if you're building a SaaS startup, it's another ball game altogether. This is very difficult in few other senses. So mainly, I would say one of the things that is very, very important is to build lean and thin. Build everything with a purpose. That's what I've learned over time. Very small milestones. First, achieve them and then go ahead. Secondly, I think it's very important to understand how you build your team. Because probably from my first experience, I was sitting in the campus. I really got a great team. But building team further with a purpose, it's very difficult. You need to put a lot of effort and time to do that. And again, I think lastly, what I would say is, though you have to overcome a lot of inertias from n number of people, policymakers, investors, customers, everyone. So it will take its own sweet time, but it's up to you. How do you make the trade-off between the time to convince them and whether you want to pursue that or not? So it's up to you, but I think that's a great journey to take, and it's very enjoyable in one sense.
Keep pushing people is what you're saying, basically. Right. Good. I mean, that was actually a lot of valuable insights from people who are actually going through the grind on the ground. That's amazing. So I think I would probably stop here because I think we are way past the time. And let's get back to Pragya.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much, Srinath, Suyash, Nikita, and definitely Professor Satya for making this panel discussion so interesting and engaging, I would say.
So one lesson that I have learned actually working with all these guys is have a very good sense of humor.
No, sure, sir. As an incubation center itself, and even I have been working with the various startups, not space startups, but definitely in other sectors. Humor is definitely, sir, one thing that we need to keep with us, and that's what keeps us going working with them as well. Before we move to the end of the event, I know we just passed. If anyone has any questions for any speakers, I think we'll give a minute or so. Please go ahead. I'm sure they will be pleased to answer them.
Yeah, I didn't see any questions on the chat box.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Something in the chat box, but I think it is some related.
That was funny. So because we have Galaxy I, so somebody wants a Galaxy face and nose and legs and arms. Got it. Okay, yeah.
Okay. So I think we are coming to the end of the session, and I would again invite Shreya sir to please give the vote of thanks, and we can conclude the session then.
Thank you, Ms. Lena Bocill. Thank you, Dr. Satya. Thank you, each of the panelists, Nikita and Srinath and Suyash. I think we've had a thrilling discussion, and having seen many of the other AIC discussions, the lessons for entrepreneurs seem to be common across domains. And the effort at Atal Incubation Centre, BIMTECH, and Shivering Alumni India ultimately is to build on self-confidence. That is the underlying theme, is that not only you can do it, but we can. And that we have a helping hand stretched out to each other. And here is a community of people who are helping each others achieve. So on that note, I would like to thank every single participant, and including the attendees who are here supporting these events. And also heartfelt thanks to Lena for her excellent coverage on the current scenario and future prospects for space entrepreneurship. All of this was incredibly exciting. And I hope that we stay connected beyond this. And we have as our host, the Birla Institute of Management and Technology, our host institute. And through this, hopefully we can stay connected. And Professor Satya, thank you once more for moderating a very exciting discussion. Your mentorship has meant so much to so many, and is evident from all the comments that have been made. So thank you once again. Have a great weekend and continue to stay safe and well. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think Lena ma'am is trying to say something.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes. If you ask me, my takeaway is seeing all these young guys like Suyash, Srinath, and of course Miss Nikita. They have one thing in common, that's passion for space. And the ones that come to me for mentoring, the boys and girls, the youngsters, I see the spark in them and I select them for mentoring. I mean, there's no selecting criteria, but I'm sure Professor Satya will agree. And the motto is, I always say, I love what I do and do what I love to do. So we always like to do something and enjoy something like this particular field, like area. Space engineering technology is like playing with this stuff. So the most sophisticated stuff. And best wishes to all of them. And I'm sure you have come a long way and there's a long journey ahead. Thank you for having me here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.